The FATF Travel Rule is a data rule for crypto transfers. When value moves between regulated platforms, key information about who's sending and receiving has to move with it. It matters because banks, regulators, and counterparties increasingly treat solid travel rule compliance as a basic license to operate. To understand the travel rule, think about how wire transfers work. Money moves from bank A to bank B, and alongside it, verified sender information travels through SWIFT. Regulators liked this parallel flow of funds and identity. Early crypto broke that pattern. Assets could move globally between wallets, but reliable sender and recipient data often didn't follow. That gap in identity information is exactly what the travel rule is designed to close. Regulators didn't wake up one day and decide to target crypto for fun. They saw three powerful features collide: transfers that settle in seconds, assets that cross borders with almost no friction, and ledgers that hide real-world identities behind codes. Without strong controls, that combination is ideal for abuse. When regulators talk about the travel rule, they're really focused on who sits at each end of the transfer. On one side, you may have VASPs like NovaX. On another, you might see traditional banks like Finbridge. And then there are self-custody wallets, which usually sit right at the edge of current regulation. Think of the travel rule as a two-step gate. First, ask, is a VASP or other regulated intermediary involved on at least one side? If both users are purely peer-to-peer, the rule doesn't apply. If a VASP is involved, then ask, does the transfer meet the relevant threshold? Below that point, you may apply simplified checks. Above it, full originator and beneficiary data has to travel with the transaction. In this example, NovaX is sending Bitcoin to another regulated exchange. Picture two parallel tracks. On one track, the crypto itself moves on-chain, like any normal blockchain transaction. On the second track, regulated data moves off-chain: who the sender is, who the recipient is, plus required identifiers. Because both sides are VASPs, the travel rule expects that full identity payload to accompany every qualifying transfer. Now we hit the travel rule's main limit. NovaX still sends the coins on-chain, but there's no receiving VASP to accept travel rule data. Instead of messaging another institution, NovaX switches to a risk-based approach: blockchain analytics, wallet risk scoring, sanctions checks, and customer profiling. Transfers to self-hosted wallets become more of a judgment call, guided by risk rather than a pure technical messaging requirement. Here, NovaX sends crypto to Finbridge, a traditional financial institution. Again, two things move in parallel. On the asset track, Ethereum moves on-chain as usual. On the data track, NovaX pushes the travel rule information so Finbridge can plug it straight into its existing AML engine. This scenario forces true interoperability between crypto infrastructure and legacy banking compliance systems. For the travel rule, treat every outgoing transfer as needing a labeled box of originator data. NovaX must already know the customer's verified legal name and their account or wallet identifier. Then, one stronger identifier travels with it: either a residential address, a national ID number, or full date and place of birth. Together, those elements let receiving institutions reliably identify who actually sent the funds. On the receiving side, travel rule data isn't just nice to have, it creates a concrete duty. When beneficiary information arrives, you're expected to actively match it against your own KYC records. Does the name align with the registered customer? Does the destination account or wallet ID belong to them? That's what enables proper AML, CFT, and sanction screening. Simply storing whatever comes in is not compliant. Proportionality means you don't treat every transfer like it's high risk. Below local thresholds, you might only collect minimal data and run basic checks. Once amounts cross the main trigger, full travel rule data, screening, and automated messaging should kick in. If something looks high risk, you stack on enhanced due diligence and escalation. Design your rules so risk, not just value, drives how intense your controls are. AML rules push VASPs to collect, share, and retain as much customer data as possible. Privacy laws like GDPR demand the opposite: minimize data, limit its use, and delete it quickly. Your job isn't to pick a side, but to engineer the balance. Encrypt everything, restrict access, keep only what you truly need, and tune thresholds so each transfer shares the minimum data set required for compliance. Think of travel rule compliance as a workflow running in parallel with the transaction itself. You've already captured reliable KYC data. When a withdrawal is requested, a rules engine decides if the transfer is in scope and which VASP is involved. Required originator and beneficiary data is then sent off-chain. Only once that payload is validated do you allow the blockchain transfer to actually settle. The travel rule isn't just about ticking a box. It's about keeping your business plugged into the financial system. When information travels with transfers, law enforcement can actually trace and stop criminal flows. Banks feel safer, so they're less likely to day risk and cut you off. Regulators gain confidence that you're serious, which protects your licenses and your ability to operate and scale globally. You can now see crypto compliance as three parallel tracks. When value moves between two VASPs, you're in a fully regulated corridor. Travel rule data moves off-chain, assets move on-chain. When value leaves to an unhosted wallet, there's no counterparty, so controls pivot to risk scoring and enhanced monitoring. And when value meets traditional finance, standardized data keeps regulators comfortable on both sides and keeps your connections open.